The Path, Kriya Yoga with Goswami Kriyananda, is a series of discussions that can help you change your life. If you're looking for inspiration, information on everything from meditation to reincarnation, this is a series for you. Thanks for watching.
Hi, we're at the Temple of Kriya Yoga in Chicago, and we're talking to Goswami Kriyanandaji.
Namaste ji.
What do you think people need to know about what happens to the spirit, the soul, after we die?
It just continues on doing what it's doing, learning. Nobody dies, everybody is immortal. Neti again, if you bear with me. You're not the body, you're not the mind, you're not the thoughts in the mind. Everybody who is born physically, the body will disintegrate at some point. What happens at the time of death really is very similar to what happens in what they call sleep. Most people become unconscious, and then they begin to dream, and then they begin to be a little self-aware, and then they wake up. Pretty much the same thing transpires. A person dies. For a while, they continued to do whatever they're doing. I remember in the battlefield seeing a person killed in this lifetime, and he was charging with his bayonet, and you saw his body drop, but astrally you could see him still charging. We call it the astral of the Ka, is keep charging with his bayonet, and he'll keep doing this for a while, and then he will become like sleep. He'll become unconscious. Then he will, after a period of unconsciousness, in a sense, begin to dream. His desires remanifest, the goals remanifest, his regrets remanifest, his guilt remanifest, and things he should have done and didn't do remanifest. And he has to, that is all processed in what we call the afterlife effect. And when that's all processed, it's put together, and forgive my bad humor, he's sent back down to repolish and learn the heavier lessons, which is really, in Western terms, unselfish love, in Eastern terms, the attainment of wisdom.
How long is it between incarnations?
It varies from instantaneous to a couple of thousand Earth years.
What is the variable?
Yeah. Sinners come back very rapidly.
Oh, good. I'll be right back.
And saints come back very rapidly. People with strong passions come back. The stronger the passions, the sooner you return. But remember, no matter how strong the passion is, you can only reincarnate on the earth, we were talking now, reincarnate on the earth when one has the opportunity to fulfill the dream. So, if one wants to be a general, he probably will be reincarnated very rapidly, if you understand what I'm saying. If one wants to be Metatron of the earth and bring peace to the world, he's got a little while to wait, if I can kid you a little bit there. So it's a time causal relationship, place and cause. And so the intensity is one thing that draws them back rapidly. So the sinner, using a Western word, person with unbelievable, unbridled desires will come back very rapidly, because up on the astral it's like a dream, and there's something missing. And what he's missing is the fleshiness of it all. So he's thrown back into the body to re-experience what he feels is important, till he experiences enough time and he gets yawned and bored with it and moves on to another nightmare, as I call it. The same way most saints are converters and trying to proselyte and change the world, and so they have a strong desire, just as bad desire is desire. And so from that standpoint, they also come back rapidly. The rest of us float through basically waiting for the right time for the fulfillment of our key unfulfilled desire.
You hear stories of people with near-death experiences,
Yes.
of seeing the relatives and seeing
Yes.
the light. Is that an authentic experience?
Well, I can tell you, when I was young in the 20s and 30s, you could almost always tell when someone's dying. Most of them died a natural death back then. They didn't have so many doctors. Forgive my bad humor. And, Aunt Martha would say, well, my mother visited me last night, stood right at the bedpost. And 3 or 4 days or a week later, she said, well, Uncle Remus was also there. And they astrally start collecting at the bed. And usually in those days, they almost always died in sleep. There's a door or a gate, the Stargate, we used to call it, because in the movie no one's calling it that anymore. But each of the 7 major chakras, there's a tunnel there, a light beam coming out. And when one leaves the body, they can leave from many different places in the body. We should always mystically leave from the 1,000-petal lotus, but most people are leaving from the lower chakras. And they reach out and they get into this bridge that's sometimes seen, sometimes a river, sometimes a beam of light. And then they always say, they say, if I cross over this, I know I can't come back. And they think they come back. But the only reason they come back is because they have unfulfilled karma to fulfill. And
So that's what Elizabeth Kubler-Ross is talking about when
yes,
she
in
talks about
my understanding, yes.
the tunnel of light.
That is correct, the tunnel of light. A great piece of work.
Is there a way that we can prepare ourselves?
Yes. 2 things one can do. Stop being afraid of dying. People are afraid of dying because, as in their child mind, they think God is going to punish them. And so they black out, you know. You hear this from mothers, and they're impatient with the child. Go to sleep or the Sandman's going to get you, I think was one of them. The boogeyman's going to get you if you don't go to sleep. And so sleeping and going to sleep and being is all linked to this fear factor. But most people are just afraid, they really think they're a bad soul, and they're afraid that when they die, they're going to be punished. Now, my guru, who was a Scorpion, used to say they probably are, but only because they think they are. And what they should do, answering your question, they should ask, well, if I'm feeling a bad person, what can I do? What should I do so I no longer feel bad? Not what should I think, not what should I say, but what should I do? Action, kriya, in other words, and neutralize it. Secondly, learn to go to sleep slowly. If you go to bed every night very quietly, and at some point, maybe 45 minutes, an hour before you're going to go to bed, start turning off all your computers. It's called closing off the sun chakra, all right? As you move in, you begin into the nighttime, you begin to turn on what they call the moon chakra, the ritual of the moon, the ritual of the sun. And as we're going to sleep, we're entering into our own universe. Nobody's there except us and all our shadow people. And what we should do, if we fall asleep very, very slowly, we will slide through with the personality that we have now, which may or may not be good, but that awareness that we have now is phenomenal. And with that, we can gain unbelievable awareness of the dream state and change the symbols, and therefore change our attitude, therefore to change our reaction to life, therefore to improve the life. To do this, one cannot kill themselves at work. So they're emotionally, most people are exhausted because they hate their work and they're mad at the boss and unhappy with everything. The answer is accept it and live and do a good job what you're doing. And at night, when you've done everything you do, then let go of it. You know, it'll be there the next morning. That's the humor, all right? But now you're turning into your world, and you can't say, well, I'm unhappy because mother won't let me do this, or guru won't let me do it, or God won't approve, that sort of thing. The answer is no. It's your universe, and you should have awareness and therefore control. If you do that, when your physical vehicle leaves, and they sometimes call it the big sleep in mysticism, you go into the body dies and you pull out and you realize you can't go back. You have that self-awareness, therefore you can change your destiny. Remember, people talk about the astral world as though it's a stepping stone to the next life. It's a whole other world. It's like leaving from here and going to Europe, or from going to Europe to coming to America. It's a whole different world, but you're still alive and living, and so we have to prepare for that. And the best way to prepare for that is live today as though this is the day of immortality, which it is. Live this moment. Be happy now. Don't say, well, one of these days I want to be happy. Be happy now. One of these days I'm going to treat my spouse right now. Treat your spouse right now. This moment. How you live this moment is how you live in the next lifetime, they say.
We've been talking to Goswami Kriyananda at the Temple of Kriya Yoga in Chicago.